if I don't hear from the president of El Salvador and Abrego Garcia is not quickly returned, I do intend to go to El Salvador this week to show solidarity with his family. As you indicated, the Trump administration itself has admitted that he was abducted and sent to this prison in error, and he should get his due process.
Yes, Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, he wants all illegal alien gang members returned to the United States so that they can be illegal alien gang members here again. Because the Democrat Party is not on our side. They're here to destroy the world. They're the left. They're not liberals at all. And a very good Tuesday to you, and welcome back once again. We continue to be reached and reachable at 888-630-9625. And before we get to all of the madness, I want to get to some of the events in the Oval Office yesterday with President Trump and President Bukele of El Salvador. They love to break into a Spanish accent whenever they use certain words that are Spanish-sounding words. But President Bukele, El Salvador, no-nonsense kind of guy, apparently in the Oval Office with President Trump yesterday. President Trump also brought in the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, and there were reporters, and Stephen Miller was in there. And it was a big event, and the news media was invited in, unlike with Democrat presidencies, because they're not transparent, they're opaque. They're not on the side of openness. But I want to get to some of the events that occurred in the Oval Office yesterday, because the lead story, front page, Washington Post, upper right-hand corner, A-sectional, not the metro-sectional. Bukele rejects return of Maryland man. They call the illegal alien gang member a Maryland man. They call him, and they say that he was mistakenly deported. That's what they say, and they continue to refer to him as a Maryland man, not a gang member from El Salvador illegally in the country, as an illegal alien who every breath he takes is illegal. But never mind all that. The Democrats, they're in favor of illegal because their heroes are all ghouls and murderers and savages, and they love everybody that's not on our side. They just love illegal alien gang members more than anyone. And they love Luigi Mangione, not an illegal alien gang member, a regular American with a nice Italian name and a nice family in Maryland, who became a murderer, a cold-blooded, calculated, plotting assassin of a healthcare company CEO, gunned him down on the sidewalk. And the Democrats have been applauding him ever since, and they literally want to date him. And that's a euphemism. The Democrat Party fighting for the release from a jail in El Salvador, where he comes from as a gang member there. Kilmore Abrego Garcia. It's actually Kilmar, but I think it works better as Kilmore, because the Democrats will like him even more. Their hero, Mohammed Khalil, their hero, Carmelo Anthony. Mohammed Khalil, of course, he came here illegally, and he's an Arab from North Africa who pretends to be Palestinian, and he wants to wipe out Israel, and he's very active and trying to get campuses in the United States to become genocidal, racist, anti-Semites, and the Democrats applaud that. And yesterday, another hero of the Democrat Party, Victor Martinez Hernandez, an illegal alien from El Salvador who was deported 3 times for being in the country illegally, came in illegally a 4th time thanks to the Biden administration of the Democrats, who then raped and murdered the mother of 5 in Maryland, Rachel Morin. And the Democrat Party, they think these are the heroes of the day. Taylor Lorenz wants to date at least one of them, the famous, notorious, awful New York Times, Washington Post fake reporter, left-wing radical, cackling about dating Luigi Mangione because they love murder. The left has murdered more people in the last 100 years than any gang of jihadis or Nazis or communists and Well, the communists, that's where they killed their 100 million people. And the Democrat Party, they have jumped on the left-wing bandwagon. They're really something. And the jury in Maryland, no less, took 46 minutes to convict Victor Martinez Hernandez in the rape and murder of Rachel Morin, the Maryland mother of 5 who wanted a little exercise, but ran into the Democrat Party's policies and was brutally raped and murdered. And the Democrats, they shrug. Yeah, whatever. That's not really a news story. And then a Democrat named Cody Balmer firebombed the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania night before last. Passover, Jewish governor, firebombed his house. Firebombing, that's honestly the Democrat Party. Also, there's another one. They have another hero now because the news media has jumped on another bandwagon. Palestinian student leader. He's a Palestinian student. Why do we have Palestinian student leaders in the United States? What does he lead? Oh, he leads the call for the genocide of the Jews, which is what the Nazis did. And the Democrat Party, they are champions of those that would champion the extermination of the Jewish people. The Intercept with the story, Palestinian student leader was called in for a citizenship interview, then arrested by ICE. The green card holder. Liberals think if you have a green card that you can stay here for the rest of your natural life and kill and be a Nazi and be a genocidal racist. A green card holder, Columbia University protest leader, Moshe Madawi, faced attacks from pro-Israel activists. He's the genocidal racist, the anti-Semite. And the headline here is that he faced, the poor Palestinian, Moshe Madawi, poor guy, faced attacks from pro-Israel activists. You mean while he was chanting to wipe Israel off the face of the earth and all that good stuff? Moshe K. Madawi arrived at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office in Colchester, Vermont. Why in Colchester, Vermont? On Monday, that's yesterday, a Palestinian student at Columbia University, always the Ivy League, isn't it? He had hoped that after 10 years in the U.S., how long does the guy take to get through college? What is he getting his second PhD at Columbia University? After 10 years, he's a student at Columbia University, and after 10 years in the U.S., he would pass the test to become a naturalized citizen. He would pass the test to become a naturalized citizen. Instead, but did he take the test and pass it? Because the way you phrased it is ambiguous. Instead, agents from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested him and began the process to deport him to the occupied West Bank. Madawi, a leader of the Columbia University campus protest movement against Israel's war on Gaza. Is that what's going on? Israel's war on Gaza? Have you released the hostages that you raped? Have you released the hostages that you've murdered? The dead bodies of the hostages that you kidnapped, raped, tortured, and murdered? Because there's an explanation for Israel's alleged war on Gaza. It's a war of self-defense against genocidal savages, and this guy is one of them. And the Democrats applaud him, and they want more of him, more genocidal, racist Nazis in American academia. And honestly, 10 years at Columbia University, 10 years in the United States, you're a student at Columbia University. I assume that you're on scholarship because God knows you're not paying for it. Full boat, I'll promise you that. So amazing stuff. And The Intercept here, radical left-wing extremist, anti-Semite writing this quite obviously. Aquila Lacey. Aquila and the Bee, or something like that. They're very upset. Moshe Madawi was unlawfully detained today for no reason other than his Palestinian identity. Actually, you were trying to cut back on the number of mad, genocidal jihadis leading movements on Ivy League campuses, and we're kicking them out of the country, and it's long overdue. And you say, well, he's got He's got a student visa, just like one of their heroes, Mahmoud Khalil, who is also one of these genocidal rebel rousers. And the Democrats applaud it. What is it with the Democrats and the Jews? You guys should be wearing armbands and goose-stepping everywhere you go. And I'm talking about the Democrats. You know, my mother taught me as a child, you will be judged by the company you keep. You'll be judged by your friends. And the friends of the Democrat Party today are Mahmoud Khalil, genocidal, Nazi, racist, Jew hater, who wants to kill them all and wipe Israel off the map. And he's a champion of doing that at Columbia University. What a coincidence. Then there's Moshe K. Madawi, who arrived at the U.S. Citizenship Immigration Services to become a U.S. citizen. And the Democrats are, oh, yeah, we got to make him a citizen. He wants to kill all the Jews. Of course we want him as a citizen. And then The Intercept, left-wing media, they are now champions of Moshe Madawi, and they're claiming, and they're quoting his attorney, Luna Draubi, the attorney. Moshe Madawi was unlawfully detained today for no reason other than his Palestinian identity. Well, that and his support for genocidal racism and terrorism against the Jewish people, and because of all the terror that we've seen against Jewish people on the campuses of not just Ivy League universities, but a great many Ivy League universities. He came to this country hoping to be free to speak out about the atrocities he had witnessed because of the Jews, only to be punished for such speech. Well, and this is honestly the Democrat Party applauding genocidal anti-Semitism, genocidal racism. The bloodthirsty ghouls of the jihad have the full support of the Democrat Party, and that means the news media, too. So Mahmoud Khalil ought to be deported. I don't think we should be carrying genocidal racists who are inciting violence against the Jewish people or any other nation of people or group of people, inviting them onto Ivy League campuses to spend 10 years trying to get a degree of some kind. I'm telling you, you guys, you Democrats, and the Democrats are champions of criminals from El Salvador as they champion the entry of Victor Martinez Hernandez, convicted of rape and murder yesterday in Maryland. The jury took 46 minutes, first-degree rape, first-degree murder, and they incited the firebombing of the Democrat Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania by, among other things, making Molotov cocktails fashionable again and normal again, and their support of everything evil. Amazing. And now they're champions of Kilmore, as his family calls him. Abrego Garcia, CNN just calls him Garcia, like their old family friends. And they're champions of Luigi Mangione, who murdered a healthcare CEO on the sidewalks of New York. These are the heroes of the Democrat Party. And my mother explained to me at a very young age, grammar school, you will be judged by the company you keep. You'll be judged by the friends you make and keep. And the Democrat Party ought to be judged by Nathan Bedford Forrest and Jefferson Davis and the list goes on, Sheriff Bull Connor and Governor Orville Faubus standing in the schoolhouse door at Central High School. They ought to be judged by their friends Kilmore, Abrego Garcia, and Luigi Mangione, and by Victor Martinez Hernandez, and by Cody Balmer, who firebombed the governor's mansion, and by Mahmoud Khalil. They're also champions of the knife murderer, high school track meet knife murderer, Carmelo Anthony. Oh, can't we get him released from prison? They're on the side of crime and murder, but they want to murder Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Huh. At what point does the Democrat Party become identified as a terrorist group? How many crimes against humanity must they commit? How many war criminals must they support and champion? before the Democrat Party itself becomes fairly and correctly identified as a terrorist organization. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. President Trump today taking on Harvard, run by leftist billionaire communists with a $53 billion endowment that they have, and still they're tax exempt. And what are we supposed to give them billions of dollars every year to fund our own demise as a culture, as a civilization? Because that's what we're doing. President Trump talking about ending Harvard's tax exempt status. Why would they be tax exempt? They're a big money-making operation. All right, let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Clark. Hey, where did Clark literally just drop off? As I said, oh, no, I'm sorry. There he is. The big board just changed up. Sorry, Clark. Let's go to Clark in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Clark, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, buddy.
Man, I appreciate you taking my call.
You bet.
Hey, I really enjoy listening to your show. It's always entertaining. It's something I look forward to driving to work, listening to you, and enjoying it. So,
thank you.
My comment today was about your discussion of the gentleman, I guess, who is going to be deported that has a green card. My concern, while I agree that if they're here illegally, any illegal person who came over illegally, I think should be deported. This guy apparently came legally by the student visa,
right,
I guess, or whatever.
That's
but
right.
My thought is he going to be treated like a martyr by these people? They're obsessively devoted to this stuff. I could see it causing even more unrest in these situations, and so it's like I struggle with the value in certain things, like this particular instance, versus going out and just getting the criminals that are already in jails and such like that. You know? Yeah.
No, I understand, and I believe that you're talking in this instance, because there are a lot of instances, Mahmoud Khalil, right?
Yes.
And Mahmoud Khalil at Columbia University, who's a student leader of the anti-Israel movement. They call it a movement. And I just shared another story of another alleged Palestinian who's been here as a student for 10 years and was trying to become a U.S. citizen when he was nabbed and arrested. That's a different guy than Mahmoud Khalil. But I got to tell you, if you're an Arab Muslim here stirring up jihad against Israel while there's war going on and hostages are being held, I'd kick him out of the country. I was just speaking to one of our brilliant and wonderful listeners, one of our callers, Clark, calling from Arkansas, and he said, "I'm sorry I ran out the clock on you, Clark. I know you had more to say, and I had more to say too. But saying, I understand you got gang members from El Salvador and from Venezuela, and we want to deport them because they're gang members from El Salvador and Venezuela, and they're criminals. But this other guy, and we're talking about one of the Democrat Party heroes, Mahmoud Khalil, who is it'd be fair to say, a rabble-rouser, an Arab Muslim who identifies as Palestinian, and that's all you need to do now is identify as something, and then you are. It's magic. But Mahmoud Khalil, yet another Columbia University, Ivy League University student. I wonder how many years. He's 30 years old, I believe. And we got this other guy now, Moshe Madawi, who has been in the U.S. for 10 years and is a student at Columbia University. He's like, hey, I'm going to become a naturalized citizen. And he was arrested because, at what point do you identify someone as a terrorist if you're a Muslim Arab supporting the genocide of the Jewish state of Israel, the extermination of Israel, and you form organizations like on campus at Columbia University to bring people around to your way of thinking, and that way of thinking is the same way of thinking that Adolf Hitler and his Socialist Workers' Party, same way of thinking that they had toward the Jewish people. Now, if you're a genocidal racist and you're recruiting for the jihad on an Ivy League campus where these Ivy League miscreants will be in government and corporate America in no time at all because their daddies got them into good schools thanks to tutors and so on, remarkable things. But I've got to say, and Clark, if I'd had more time to talk, I would have said that. And I would say I don't think the United States at this moment in history, with war in the Middle East, war in Europe, the Democrat Party having become a radical left-wing entity, and I think a danger to Western civilization itself. And by the way, Mahmoud Khalil belongs to a radical organization of Islamists who are calling for the extermination not just of Israel, but also of Western civilization. And I don't think that we should be paying these they're all doubtless on scholarships. They're not paying their own way and all that stuff. And we're paying to sow the seeds of our own destruction when civilization is under assault. And the Chinese communists are making their moves, planning on conquering the world in the 21st century. The Democrats are also helping the communist Chinese because they're not on our side. But and look, Clark, when you've got a green card or you're here on a student visa, he came in on a student visa, then he got a green card, Mahmoud Khalil. That doesn't mean that you have permanent residency in the United States for the rest of your life. And if you're a radical, a political radical, a racist radical, which Mahmoud Khalil, I think, certainly arguably is, and he's inciting violence against the Jewish people, the Jewish state, I don't think that we should be champions of this person. He's got his right to free speech while he's here. And then if he's, what point do you say, well, he's effectively a terrorist, right? So how do we deal with terrorists that come into our country, go to Ivy League schools, doubtless on other people's money, and they're fanning the flames of war in the United States, a racist war? Then I think, Clark, all fairness, and I take your, the question you're raising is a legitimate question, no doubt. And it's good to be thoughtful about these matters. But the Democrat, and then when the Democrats champion them like they do with Luigi Mangione and Kilmore Abrego Garcia, I tend to be less inclined to express my support for them when the anti-American, radical left, violent firebombing, looting, rioting, assassinating Democrat Party, which is their history, the lynch mob history of the Democrat Party, then I'm less likely to support their efforts to back Luigi Mangione or Mahmoud Khalil, because Mahmoud Khalil, as far as we know, hasn't personally murdered anybody, but he's certainly advocating for an army of genocidal murderers and racists, and I don't think that I am eager to support him, and I'm probably not eager to support Mohsen Madawi, who's been in the country for 10 years, was applying for citizenship. And how do you go to school at Columbia University but live in Colchester, Vermont? And you've been here for 10 years. Did you graduate from anything in the course of those 10 years? Maybe City College would be good for you. You could, it's 2 years be a good start for you. Let's get back to the Oval Office yesterday. President Trump, number three, soundbite number 3. President Trump in the Oval Office with the president of El Salvador visiting yesterday, Nayib Bukele, visiting the White House, and big day with President Trump, including this big Oval Office meeting with half the cabinet at least and the news media, and good stuff going on. So President Trump and El Salvador, we've been sending these illegal alien gang members to El Salvador, And the Democrats want to litigate each and every one for the, the White House did yesterday, announced that Joe Biden's phony waving people into the country with an app, and more than 500,000 of them. And the Trump White House yesterday said, I don't think we're going to honor and respect Joe Biden's app admission to the United States by more than 500,000 people, and we're gonna cancel those. And now the Democrats and this judge, who's an Obama judge, I believe she's an Obama judge, and she said, no, we got to litigate all 503,000 of those, and they're all going to need teams of lawyers, and it would take literally decades for this to be sorted out. And the Democrats, they're snickering up their stolen sleeves, and they think it's cute that they would tie down the justice system, the immigration system, and the United States of America because they want to do damage to the United States. They're the left. They're not liberals. President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday with President Bukele.
If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people. Every bit as bad as the ones coming in.
Now, this was debated hotly yesterday. What was President Trump talking about? Deporting American citizens like Michael Piercy because he's such a bad person, and deporting him to this prison in El Salvador where they shave your head and keep you cuffed and keep your head bowed down, and they wear ski masks themselves because they don't want their families to be murdered by the gangs because it's that bad, and the Democrats want more of that here because they're not liberals, they're the left. Amazing stuff. But I prefer to think, and it needs clarification, or it begs clarification, if the president is talking about an illegal alien who comes into the country and then the Democrats give him legal status and he becomes, or let's say you come in with your parents who are illegal aliens and you're a teenager, and then you get U.S. citizenship. And then after you get U.S. citizenship, we find out that you're actually an operative of MS-13 or Tren de Aragua out of Venezuela, these gangs. Then can we strip you of your citizenship and deport you because, you lied during your citizenship process and all that? And I've got to say, if the president wants to strip people legally, strip them of their citizenship because they obtained their citizenship illegally or based on lies, then I'd be in favor of that. Now, if you're talking about Michael Piercy being deported to the prison in El Salvador for his many crimes, then I've got to say, hang on, we need to have a long discussion about that because I don't think I like that one very much. Now, President Trump and President Bukele of El Salvador and in the Oval Office talking about President Trump basically shutting down our southern border that Joe Biden and the Democrats opened wide.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
Okay. As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN. CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Yeah,
but it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
99%. I mean, it's crazy, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Now the Democrats. Here's a headline at Axios today. Democrats, not Republicans, Democrats demand action to return man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. And the news media keeps saying mistakenly. We're going to get to that. But President Trump with President Bukele, we've shut down the illegal traffic across our southern border, Bukele says, by 95%, I heard. President Trump dials it up, of course, 99.1%. Very precise, very scientific, and that's good. And CNN, why don't they report it? Because they don't like our country. They hate our country.
CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Because I think they hate our country, actually. And this got CNN really rankled. The media, the Democrats, there is very little daylight between the two entities. And the media, the most corrupt institution in America, with the Democrat Party, they're in a sleeping bag together, all lubed up. The amazing stuff. After the press conference, I want to jump to this now. Dana Bash, CNN, her ex-husband now, worked in the Obama administration, a phony job at the CIA, and then he was one of the 51 signatories to that corrupt CIA intelligence letter saying that Joe Biden's, Hunter Biden's laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. It was all a lie. And here's Dana Bash, no longer with her ex-husband, Jeremy Bash, one of the 51 signatories. And she's like, wait a minute, what did Donald Trump just say?
I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing.
It should go without saying. What was that? I see a rhetorical device in what he was. What? That was kind of a convoluted. She was tripping over the English language there, trying to dig her way out of. CNN does not hate America. Doesn't hate America. Jake Tapper works at CNN. He's a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer.
Obviously, that's not true.
Obviously, that's not true. Caitlin Collins, the White House reporter who was in the Oval Office, and she's the one that President Trump was talking about when she was asking these saboteur questions, and CNN then went to their White House reporter, Caitlin Collins. Hey, CNN hates America. I think they hate America. Oh, this was the moment in the Oval Office. I apologize. Where the back and forth, the initial back and forth was had.
Do you plan to ask
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CBS.
President Trump, do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
The one who was mistaken. This is what the front page of the Washington Post says, too. Mistakenly deported. They all adopt the exact same language. Isn't that amazing? The Attorney General of the United States was there. That's Pamela Bondi, Pam Bondi. And President Trump said, well, Pam, why don't you explain?
He was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
Meaning provide a plane. If, and then then the news media goes back because President Bukele's there. Oh, can't you return? They're excited. They want to date him. They're completely insane.
So will you return him?
Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanting because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point.
As a starting point. Stephen Miller in the Oval Office yesterday. How many times do courts have to find you to be an MS-13 member? Oh, but he procreated and what? He's got a kid with all kinds of medical issues. Is that right? And learning disabilities or disabilities. And I don't think they're sending their bests. Amazing, amazing stuff. The Democrat Party is waging jihad against our culture, against our civilization. The Democratic Party is the party responsible.
CNN hates our country. CNN does hate our country. That should go without saying.
I would fact check that too.
Ah, yes. Yeah, we've got a Democrat senator. We played a soundbite of him a little earlier. Maryland nitwit leftist. Says he's going to travel to El Salvador. And now he's recruiting other Democrats to push for the release of Kilmore Abrego Garcia because they love Kilmore. Senator Chris Van Hollen, left-wing dimwit, Maryland senator, no longer the world's greatest deliberative body. The U.S. Senate has become a shell of its former self. Amazing stuff. All right, let's take another phone call. We've got a lot of audio yet to get to, and but let's see. Let's go to Brad, calling from Key West, Florida. Well, he's calling from New Orleans today. Brad, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris. Thank you again. It's always a pleasure. I am in New Orleans in the French Quarter, and the other night I was tired. It was the end of the French Quarter Fest, and 90 people got shot that night, and I'm glad I went home to the hotel at 9 o'clock at night.
90 people in New Orleans shot in one night because it was, we're coming into Holy Week, so naturally.
Yeah, there was the French Quarter Fest and a Strawberry Fest, and at both festivals, at the end of the night, there were shootings. Anyways, I wanted to mention to you that you're talking about April being Democrat month.
Uh-huh.
Well, Hitler's birthday is in a few days.
420, dude. So it's Hitler's birthday is April 20th, and that's also National Smoke a Lot of Pot Day too, right? 420 Day.
Yep. And then 2 days later is Earth Day, where the guy that founded that killed his family or whatever.
The guy that founded Earth Day, his family. Pretty amazing stuff. Yeah, Democrats, you're right. That should be built into Democrat History Month because the Socialist Workers Party. Yeah, amazing stuff. Well, stay safe in New Orleans, please.